Hi, this is Korinne from Korinne Carpino Art. And today I'm going to show you how to make an adorable Christmas card with alcohol inks on graphics Durabright opaque white. We're going to make this little angel. And I'm using paper that's 4x6. I'll cut it down to 4x5, attaching it to that colored paper you saw, and then adding it onto a piece of cardstock. So here I have my paper. I'm going to use a variety of brushes, a Fantastics, a blending pen, some pointed Q-tips, alcohol lift ink, and a stamp. Not necessary, but adds another dimension of texture to the background. I have some alcohol in my little cup here, and I'll just add some more as we get started. And I think I'm going to start with my biggest brush, which is a size 6 that I picked out. And I'm just going to get some alcohol on the piece of paper to get started for the background. I'm adding a little bit of aqua using Ranger inks. Now I have a little bit of sailboat blue, aquamarine, and just a touch, I think, of something darker. I'll use denim. And I'm just going to let this sit and dry and create its own textures. So now the paper is dry, and I want to add kind of a snowy background to this. So I'm going to use some lift ink, and I'm going to just put it on this stamp. Now you could choose to use stamps or not. Use any kind of holiday themed stamp. I'm just sticking with some snow. And I'm pressing it down well. I want to make sure that all the areas touch this piece of paper, and give this lift ink a minute to work. And you can already see that the ink is starting to pull up. So I have ink left on my stamp, and we might as well use that. And so I'm going to take the envelope to this greeting card and just turn this stamp down on the flap and press down on it. And now we have some blue snow on the flap of the envelope, and that'll coordinate with our card when we're done. I'm going to take a piece of paper towel and just tap at this lift ink and start to lift it off. And just dab at it a little bit. And then I'm going to take a piece of, Kleenex and just wipe at it. I like to use the Kleenex because it won't leave any texture. I'm going to make sure all the lift ink is off. Okay, now I'm going to take my blending pen. I'm going to use the small fine point. If you don't have one of these, you can use a pointed Q-tip. You can use a paintbrush, but I find that to be a little harder to control. And I'm just going to outline an oval. I'm going to start outlining an oval for the head. And I'll clean it out in just a minute. A little tiny line for the neck. And I'm just going to make those curvy lines out for the shoulders. Just a slight curve. So this gives me a good idea of where I'm going. I'm going to just clean out this head with a Q-tip and some alcohol. And so this is one of the reasons I chose this paper, because I do want it to clean back to white. And you can make any shape head you want. I'm just kind of making a round one. I'm going to use this fine tip on the blending pen to start to just sketch out the shape of my angel. And now I'm going to take a brush, a medium-sized brush, and I'm just going to start to drip alcohol down the center of the angel. Now towards the sides. I started in the center just to see how far it was going to spread. And I'm going to watch this ink kind of flow little by little. And it'll start to actually create her dress. So I'm letting the ink do the work here. Just don't want to get any hard lines in the dress itself. And here I'm getting a small Q-tip and just getting some of that darkness off the edges. Okay, if you don't get enough ink off the first time, her bodice looks okay to me, but I'm going to start pulling more ink off the skirt part and just let that flow and lighten up a bit. And just take some of those hard edges off the sides with my paintbrush. Okay, now I'm going to take my blending pen again, the fine point. I'm just going to give her some arms. I'm just pulling through the ink, wiping the excess ink on my paper towel. And I will pull her arms down almost to her waist. And then start to curve them in and create the forearm. And so just continue to pull that ink off. I'll probably grab a Q-tip in a minute and clean them out totally. And let's give her some kind of neckline on her dress. So this is a scoop neck. You could be adding anything you want. Square, triangle, V-neck. So now I'm coming in, as you can see, with that little pointed Q-tip, just damp, hardly any alcohol on it at all, and wiping out the ink there. So now we have the basic shape of the angel and her dress. The next thing I'm going to do is, I think for this angel, we're going to have a little heart shaped in there. That she's holding a heart. So we'll just clean that out too. I'll decide what color I'm going to do that later. And she could be holding whatever you want or holding nothing. Okay, the top of her head is where the hair is going to end. So it's just making a little line, thinking about how far down her forehead is going to come. I'm just going to start to clean out a little bit of this ink where some of her hair is going to go. Now here you're going to see me start to paint in the face and the neck and the chest and the arms. Use whatever colors you feel are good for you. I'm starting with some latte to add a little bit of brown to that face, a little latte on the neck. Now my brush is pretty dry and I'm just kind of dabbing this ink on. And I'm going to dab a little bit on the arms too. I thinned it out on the top of my palette so it wouldn't be too dark. And I want a little bit of warmth to this skin tone. So I'm going to take, I think it's salmon, and just add the salmon. I'll worry about the texture later. So here I am coming back with a fairly dry brush. Just I wiped it on my paper towel until it looked like there was no alcohol coming out of the bristles. You'll see me doing this rounded stroke on the face, and that's really to make that head look rounded. I left more of the dark ink on the left-hand side than the right. I'm assuming my light's coming from the right. I'm going to take a little bit of the color out of the outside of the arms. And now I have a very thin liner brush and some dark brown ink. And I'm just going around the base of her head, around the top of her dress. Any place there would be a shadow, there would be a shadow. on the inside of the arms. And so I'm just getting a little ink there. And these little brushes don't hold a lot of ink, so it's constantly reloading them. But they do get a nice fine line. Okay, and already she has some more dimension. So next I think I'm going to do the hair. Oh, adding a little bit of cheek color here, it looks like. Or some more color in the face, I guess. We're not going to do an actual face. Okay, so before I do the hair, I am going to create her wings. And in order to do her wings, I'm going to use a brush that has a good amount of alcohol on it and a napkin. And I'm just going to create kind of a wing shape. Now you can do whatever shape you want. These are more sort of like a butterfly that I'm doing, but feel free to make them whatever you want. I want them to be natural and flowy like the rest of the painting. And so quickly putting that alcohol down with the brush and then picking it up. I think I'll make this one a little bit taller. And by doing it this way, I'm not picking up all of the ink because in order to show white, we do need to have some color. I am kind of measuring a little bit. You can see me doing that. I'm trying to make sure that these wings are pretty much the same height. And using a stroke that kind of comes out and down as if it's a butterfly wing. There we go. And so the wings are as simple as that. This is an abstract painting. Now you can see I have to clean up this arm a little bit. So if you're not comfortable with doing that wing after her arms, go ahead and do it first and then paint her arms in later. And I'll just touch these arms up. Okay, so I think I do the hair next. And I'm going to use the number 2 liner and the 2O liner both. And I'm going to have brown hair. Maybe it's because I'm a brunette or used to be. I like girls with brown hair or angels. And so this is where the part is going to be. And I'm just going to start the hair. Now, for some reason, I always end up with big hair. So I'm going to try not to end up with the hair being too big today. And I'm just putting where the part is that comes down around her face. And we're just going to frame the face with the hair. I'm using latte ink to start and just getting some thin lines with this number 2 liner in here, and I'll continue to play and adjust it. So the trick is to make sure that the ink is not too thin, excuse me. Now I'm taking that little bit of blue out behind over her shoulders actually with a Q-tip. So the hair back here, either she would have her white wings showing or she would have the back of her hair, right, that's hanging down her back. And so I'm putting in some latte ink to start, and then I'll probably add some sepia to represent that hair in the back. And here I am putting the sepia ink in. And now I'm just going to pull a shape of her face. Just adjust that a little bit before I keep going on the hair. I want it to be a little more pointed at the chin. All right, so I'm going to pull in so you can see a little bit better. Again, we want to keep this loose and abstract. So now I'm going to take some of the sepia ink, and now I have that little 2O liner brush, and I'm just adding it in. Now we're going to do a lot of blending so it doesn't look like she has striped hair. And the hair, or there would be a shadow where the hair meets the face, and so just putting in that darker ink there. And I'll just continue to add strokes of ink. I like my girls to have wavy, long hair. If you'd prefer, you can do your angel with any color and any style of hair you want. All right, I'm just gonna continue, keep putting this hair in. You can see I'm coming right down over where I put the dark in for the back of the head. And so by creating that darkness around her face and shoulders and neck, it makes them show up better. Now I'm going to just take a damp, this is just a damp brush. This is that little 2O liner. And I'm going to just start to put some lights in her hair. And I've decided I want to break it up and have it look a lot softer. The whole painting is very kind of soft. And so I want to soften up all of his hair I just put in. So I actually want to see the individual lines or strands of hair less. Take some of that detail out. And so by using a damp brush, I can get some of that detail out, soften it up around her face, and just pull it down through. Now I'm just doing a little feathery work on the ends here with a damp brush. Just soften those up, create those highlights. And I'm just continuing to add a little alcohol and soften it up. I don't want to get too lost in the details. So we're just going to take another look, and the next thing I'm going to do is, this is using the 2 liner brush. I'm just putting a little raspberry ink on top of the heart. And now I'm going to add a little bit of wild plum. I'm going to want to create a shadow in it. I'm just breaking it all up with a brush damp with a little alcohol. And the last thing I'll do on the whole painting is do some outlining for shadows. So we've done the under the chin and around the dress, but she is holding that heart out from her. And so I'll come in and get a little bit of blue ink. I think I'm using aquamarine here. And just putting it around the heart as if it's in back. And that her holding the heart is creating that shadow. All right, let me zoom back out. So essentially our card is done, or our painting part of it is done, except for maybe adding some splatter. Now I've already created the snow effect, and so I'm going to want to put some splatter in a different color. And so I'm just going to get a little bit of, I'm going to use a little bit of brass. I think this is brass, jacquard pinata. Okay, I'm not getting the splatter the way I want it using that paintbrush. You can't see, but I'm getting it all over my desk, but not the painting. That's got a little bit too heavy. We'll just pull it away. So I'm just going to flick the brush itself, just tapping the brush and adding a little bit of that splatter. And let's turn that around and see what we have. So there she is. She's got a little bit of gold around her. And she's pretty monochromatic except for her hair and her heart. So she looks very soft. And so now I'm going to take a piece of paper that's just a 1/2 inch larger than the painting in total. And I've chosen blue, and this is just a blue shiny paper. And I have a glue dot roller here. And I'm just going to center this right on this paper here. And then I'm going to get my cardstock, which is about a 1/2 inch larger than the paper that my total paper here. And just get my glue roller and get some glue on that again. I'm going to open this card up, center it. This glue doesn't move very well after you get it on, so making sure I position it right in the beginning is important. And I'm going to get a little gold brush pen, just sign my initials or my name. And so my little Christmas card is done, and I have my little matching envelope. So I hope you have fun with this. Use colors of your choice, use whatever background you'd like, and create your very own holiday cards. Enjoy. Happy inking.